Perfect. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody. My name is Jan Lehman. For those that don't know me, I'm the owner of CTC, and with me are my fabulous teammates, Nancy Krushke and Walter Jankowski. Yay! If you've been hanging out with us the past year, you know we've been doing a series of webinars. It really started with the pandemic and how to help companies understand how to leverage Microsoft 365 in this COVID world. And I don't know about you guys, but what we're seeing for most of our clients is that the hybrid world will probably live on because so many of the employees really like it that way. So we are super blessed to have Microsoft 365 as a technology that affords us the ability to do that. So the format for the session today, we're going to be doing, Nancy's doing the session today. She's going to do a deep dive on content, kind of more of a monologue, and then we're going to switch it over to Q&A. You are welcome at any point to start entering your questions into chat, or you can just hold on to them at the end. And that is the plan. Coming up next, so today the topic, sorry, I should tell you that, my apologies. Today, the topic is actually an old school topic. So one of the things that Nancy and Walter and I are seeing as we're working with our clients is that not only are organizations unaware of some of the newer technology, but they're really not leveraging some of this existing technology that's been around forever. And here's the thing, we are productivity consultants. So we're not about rolling out technology just because it's cool and shiny, the next shiny object. We're about rolling out technology and leveraging it when it solves business issues and so solves productivity challenges. So we decided to add this topic in today, even though it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with Microsoft 365, because we're seeing huge productivity issues and challenges and think people need to be aware of this technology. So that's the plan for today. And then next month, Walter's actually going to be staying on the same subject around calendaring, but he's going to be touching on some of the newer features within 365 that talk about really scheduling with more external parties. So kind of going back to the 365 side. If you're interested in registering for that webinar, Walter is going to enter that into the chat. So you can sign up for that one. If you can't make it, just know that our recordings are always out on our website after the fact. And so Walter can enter that in as well, the link to the website, and you can go back and look at all the past recordings we've been doing. And if you want to stay more in touch and know when new things are coming out, sign up for our newsletter. Again, that'll go in the chat, and then you'll know ahead of time when we've got new webinars coming out. So perfect. So we have a couple slides we like to share. This one, you know, it's just all about the potential that's out there for being smarter on the way you work. And again, we see this as an opportunity. I don't think quite often that leaders within organizations have an understanding of how much time waste there is. And so we love this stat to give you some perspective. But even simple things like leveraging your calendar effectively, being more cognizant and polite on how you work in a team, and improving that communication really drives the elimination of time waste. So we love this slide. And then the next one is just about the fact that we barely use our technology. And again, as you go through the learning today, you'll probably be like, dang, I wish I would have learned this 10 years ago, right? And you know, this technology has been out for a while. So we appreciate that you're here to learn a little bit about how to leverage your technology. And on that note, I will turn over to Nancy.
All right, thanks, Jan. So we always just like to show the 365, all the apps that are available. And most of us are familiar with the Office apps, you know, the Word, the Excel, the PowerPoint. But 365, if you have a subscription, really has more than that. So we also have the email and the calendaring, some of which we're going to talk about today with the Outlook, and then the collaboration and the items that are out there, file storage and content sharing, task management, and how to keep track of things. Now, this goes on, as you see, workflow and analytics. And then they're just starting to roll out some of these really cool things. The social, the learning, the personal assistant with Cortana, which Walter's going to talk a little bit about more next week. And Viva is right on the cusp. It's out to early adopters of 365, but not right now generally available for everybody. But so we'll probably be doing something on that in the future. So there's cool stuff that Microsoft just keeps adding. But today we are going to focus on Outlook and the calendar. And so covering how do you share your calendar, how do you view shared calendars, different ways that you can view with an overlay or the schedule assistant. We've had several clients that ask us, hey, I would really like to pull my Gmail or some other calendars into Outlook. How do I do that? How do I share it? And then we're just going to look at how Teams and Outlook are integrated and a little bit on scheduling. And then finally wrap up with what we would consider some calendar best practices. And really those can be applied to whether they're Outlook calendar, 365 calendar, or others. So you can take those and you can go, oh, that sounds like a good thing to apply, you know, across the board, no matter where my calendar is. So let me switch over to Outlook. So this is, I'm in Outlook. This is actually the desktop app. So as I switch apps, I'm going to try and make sure I tell you as I switch, showing you from within Teams, on the desktop, or on the web. And so this is my desktop app. And typically your organization has probably set up some sharing already within, it could be just your team, it could be with the whole company. But if you are in your Outlook calendar and you're on your home, so up here in the top left, if you're on the home menu item, you should see this option right here that says share your calendar. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on share calendar, and it's going to open the calendar properties. And your organization, when you click on this, you may see a couple. You may see some shared with specific people or specific groups. It may say your whole organization like this. And right now you can see the permission level for everybody in my organization is they can see when I'm busy. So that's all they can see. So if Jan was in my organization and she looked at my calendar, she would not see all these words on here. She would just see busy, and then she would see all the white space. So when I'm free. So that's called just showing you're free busy. One of the best practices that we do recommend is view all the details. And the big reason for that is as you're collaborating with your colleagues, if you can look at someone else's calendar and you can say, oh, this client meeting is with ABC, or this work on this project is project X, and you are working with that client or on that project, and you have something that they may not know before they work on that project or go in that client meeting, that gives you the ability, it really maximizes that collaboration so that you can see what your colleagues are working on, what's on their calendar, what's happening. Now, sometimes people go, I don't want to share all my details. You can just share your titles and the location. So if the meeting's in the office or out of the office or in a conference room, and still that gives your colleagues a pretty good idea of what's going on. But the main reason a lot of our clients say, I don't want to show them all the details is because they're like, well, what about my private stuff? And you can, any item that you put on your calendar, you can mark as private. And when it is marked private, even when you share all the details of your calendar, all they see here is private. So if I go ahead and cancel that and I were to open this meeting, come on, is it going to open? No, I double clicked on it the wrong spot. Open this meeting up and I come up here and I say, I want to mark this as private. On my calendar, for me, it doesn't look any different. But if Jan were to look at my calendar, she wouldn't see Outlook training here. She's going to see that this is a private meeting spanning that 2-hour block. So I still think it's a good idea. We do to share all your calendar details with your colleagues. So if you want to share with somebody, so if your organization automatically by default shares with your team, but you want to share with somebody individually, this also gives you the ability to go ahead and add somebody within your organization that is not in your, department or your area of expertise. Or if you're in marketing and this only gets shared with marketing, you want to share outside of, you can go ahead and add other people, and then you can choose what they can see and what they can do. Okay, so we went through all those. Now, if somebody has shared a calendar with you, so this is how to share yours. How do you get to see someone else's calendar? If we look on the left-hand navigation pane here, you can see that with my email address, I have my calendar, and then I have some other calendars listed here. I have a subgroup called shared calendars. I set mine up so that everybody in the company, I can see their calendars. So you may or may not have some of these subgroups. These are just all different groups over here. But you can go ahead and create a new group by right-clicking and say, I want to do a new calendar group. If you have a group like this shared calendar group right here, if you right-click on it, you can add another calendar from your address book or open a shared calendar. Also, when I was on home up here, you have the ability, it's the same, you'll see it's the same menu from the address book or open a shared calendar so that you can see what's going on. So this is the trainer user that I use for training, and this is me and my business. And so I can go ahead and expand that, and I can see my calendar. Here's the trainer calendar. Here's the Nancy calendar. And so it's nice to see them side by side, and that's the default inside of Outlook, the desktop app. But when I first went in here, you notice that they were together, and that is called overlay mode. And so up by the name here, you'll see this arrow. When you click on it, it goes ahead and it overlays the two calendars. This makes it so easy to be able to see who is available, look at the white space that matches. So it's very easy to go ahead and schedule meetings because now I can see how they match. And you can have multiple calendars open. With this trainer user account, I don't have Jan and Walter in here, but if I did have them, I could have their calendars open and I could overlay all four of us. So right now, if I click on trainer calendar, you'll notice that these colors are brighter. You see how bright they are? But when I click on Nancy, now they go behind and they're just a plain pale turquoise. And the ones on Nancy's calendar jump forward and they have colors on them. So whichever calendar is highlighted up here is the calendar that is the calendar that you currently have active. The colors that are on here, I'm going to go ahead and close the Nancy one. The colors that are on here, those are categories. And again, this is a best practice, is to color code your calendar. And Outlook makes it really easy to just add a category. And what's nice about that, on my main calendar, if I am meeting with a client or doing a training session where I'm making money, everything that I'm making money is this green color, the color of money. Fun stuff on my personal calendar is pink because I like pink. So being able to color code and categorize your meetings on your calendar really gives you a good idea of, am I, anything marketing here, I've turned it purple. This particular project, I turned yellow. This is the webinar that we're doing now. Other types of meetings on there, I just left solid color right now. And all my one-on-ones, I turned this purple or pink or red, whatever color you're seeing. So let's say I wanted all my client meetings to be a particular color so that I knew I was meeting with clients. And I'm going to make them this green color because, again, client meetings in the webinar, kind of money driven. So I'm going to click on that one and I'm going to hold down my control key and I'm going to click on all the ones that say client meetings. The key here, you can come up to view. Oh, nope, we can't. Never mind. The key here is to make sure when you right click to add a category that you're on one of the meetings. You don't want to be in a white space. So I'm going to be on this client meeting. I'm going to right click. And you'll see I have the option to do categories. And the green, I named it training, but right now it's going to be training and client meetings. And we're just going to click on it. And now look at all the money that I'm making this week. So that is really nice to see. And so we talk about how does that relate to productivity and kind of see what you have going on. I had a client I was working with, she was a manager, and she goes, oh my gosh, Nancy, I'm in meetings all day long, all day long, all day long. And she goes, I swear the majority of them have nothing to do with the team that I manage. And so we did this on her calendar, and she color coded her appointments. After 2 weeks, we got back together, and she goes, you know what I noticed is that, so we'll say this green was her team. Her team meetings was 1/4 of the meetings on her calendar. All the other stuff was maybe meeting with upper management, but it was not directly related to her team, the work they were doing, and the goals they were working on. And it was really an eye-opener for her to be able to change and say no to some meetings, or to delegate it to somebody else on her team, that yes, we need to know this information, but we do not need to, I do not, as the manager, need to be directly involved in that meeting. And what that allowed her to do is to free up space on her calendar to spend 50 to 60% of her time now with her direct reports and focusing on the projects that they're working on. So that's one of the things, by categorizing, that your calendar can give you these aha moments in there.
Nancy,
Yes.
we have a question in the chat of, with shared calendars, is there a way to have different color coding for each shared calendar? Can you have a different color for Nancy and one different color for training?
Yes. So when I go ahead, I'll turn Nancy back on here, and you'll see up here, this is kind of a light teal or turquoise, and this is a blue. But if I were, even on my trainer calendar, if I were to right click on it and go to color, here's the colors, and this is on a PC, and I'm sorry, there's not a huge color palette. If you're a Mac person, this palette is probably every color under the rainbow. But for PC, we are limited right now. I think Microsoft is working on that. So I could make the trainer calendar pink, and then I could go to the Nancy calendar, and I can right click, and I can say, I want to make that color green. And so if I have not given them a category, all the meetings that don't have a category assigned to them are going to be the color of that calendar. So if I come back to trainer, so here I haven't assigned a category, so I made me pink, trainer pink. And so all the ones that are just that plain pink don't have a category. So yes, you can. The Outlook automatically kind of assigns colors. You can change them. Just beware that sometimes if you close, so like if I close Nancy and then I open it back up, it may or may not stay that green color depending on if I opened 2 or 3 other calendars. So if I opened up these other calendars, it's going to assign a color to them. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have clicked on it. So see, it assigned blue to that one. If I open up this calendar, it assigned this peach to it. And sometimes then, depending on how I close them, it just reassigns randomly. So it may not lock that in. It typically keeps the color that you assign your calendar to, but some of the other ones, they may continue to change. And then if you want to close them, you have 2 ways to close these other calendars: the X's up here or the check mark over here. Any other questions around that, Walter, while we're here? We might as well do Q&A as we go through it.
None so far, Nance.
Okay. So another question that we get asked all the time, and is also really related to productivity, is many of you on the phone, as well as the 3 of us, we have a personal email account. And I think all 3 of us have Gmail plus some others. And so if you're working away and you're like, well, what do I have going on in my personal life? Do I need to pick up kids? Do I need to go to a barbecue? Do I have a dentist appointment I don't want to put on my work calendar? And it's kind of frustrating not to have everything in one spot. So you can go ahead and integrate your Outlook calendar or other calendars into Outlook. And I think I said Outlook and I meant Gmail. Your Gmail calendar into Outlook. And so, and it's pretty easy to do. You go to File and you do Add Account. It's going to search and see if I have some other Outlook accounts and Microsoft accounts. And then once it gets through this, you're just going to go ahead and enter your Gmail address, your Hotmail address, your Macmail address. And for the most part, Outlook is going to do the rest of the work. As Walter likes to say, the heavy lifting. You don't have to think about it. So if I were to put my, spell it right, so it's organized at Gmail, and I click connect, Outlook goes out there and says, oh yeah, we know Gmail accounts, and we're going to find all the settings to connect your Gmail account inside of Outlook. And it comes back. I tested it earlier and it was perfect. And says something went wrong. So I can just go ahead and I can change account settings. I can do some troubleshooting. I can retry. But if you keep having this and you want to change account settings and do it manually, let me pop this up, and Walter is going to pop these into the chat. Microsoft does have how to add a Gmail account to Outlook, and they walk you through those steps that I just went through. So if you were furiously writing down, you don't have to anymore. You can go to Microsoft's webpage with the link that Walter's giving you to go ahead and integrate your Gmail into there. And then if you want, you can also go through Gmail, and they have steps. And so those IMAP and those SMTP settings that you need to, that I was just popped up, wrong one. Too many pages open, guys. Where to go, where to go? Right here. All these incoming and outgoing server. So that page that I was just showing you here, Google has all those numbers you need to put in to get that set up, and Walter's pasting that. And if you just want to share, you don't want to bring your calendar in, or in addition to bringing your calendar in, you want to just share your Google Calendar with someone else because you're just using Gmail and Google and you don't want to pull it into Outlook, or even if you do, Walter's pasting in, how do you share your calendar with somebody? Now I focused on Gmail here because that seems to be the common question that we hear. But if you're using MacMail or Hotmail or anything else, just go and do a search, whether it's a Google search, a Bing search, and find, say, hey, I want to integrate it into Outlook, and you will find the same types of pages for any other mail program that you happen to be using. So let me just get out of there. Of course, then it wants to close everything on me.
So Nancy, you have about 5 minutes, just so you know.
Okay. So let's pop over to Teams. Because as we've talked about Teams, sometimes people are like, well, what's my calendar that I'm seeing in Teams? So if we look at this Teams calendar, you see that it has the exact same meetings that you just saw when I was in the Outlook desktop app, or even when I popped over to the web app for a minute there. And so that is the integration. When you're in Microsoft Teams, whatever account you're signed into, so you can see I'm signed in as the trainer user here, that is the calendar that you're going to see. So you can be in Teams all day long and still see all your appointments and what your calendar looks like. When you go ahead and schedule a new meeting, and I'm scheduling with somebody, so let me just schedule this with Nancy. Just like when you're scheduling a new meeting in Outlook, you have the ability to do the schedule assistant. So I don't know why it didn't keep me there. We go ahead and pop that in. And so it's not the overlay, but it's the schedule assistant so that you can see what is happening with meetings. And I think right now nothing's showing up because it's having a sync issue with Teams right now. And I can't control that. Here we go, starting to filter in here. So I could see what I have going on, what the other people in my company have going on. And something that's fascinating to know is with Outlook, and when you're looking at scheduling assistant, is many times, as long as the external user has a Microsoft 360 account, you can see their free busy information pull into Outlook or pull into the Teams when you're looking at the schedule assistant. And that is something that's relatively new, is that Microsoft says, hey, if they're 365 users, we're going to recognize that that email address is a 365 Microsoft Exchange account, And we're at least going to show them that free busy information when they try and schedule an appointment. So I think that is a really cool thing. And I'm going to discard that, and I'm just going to pop over, if I can get to the right page here, and just show my calendar. So this is my calendar on the web. Again, the trainer user calendar. And if I go ahead and I add Nancy to it, if you are only on the web, what you're going to see is overlay mode automatically. You don't get a choice when you're on the web to do overlay, and you can't split them and have one on one side and one on the other. The only option is overlay for all the calendars that you're viewing. Okay, so let's pop back over to the PowerPoint and just cover those best practices again. So we believe that sharing your calendar with your whole organization and the full calendar details just really increases that productivity. People can gander at your calendar and very quickly see, are you available? Are you not? What are you working on? And maybe they have something in a project that you're collaborating, and they go, hey, let me tag onto that meeting, or say, you know, hey, Walter, you're working on ABC client. Let's work on it together because I have information for you. Going ahead and adding your coworkers' calendars into Outlook so that you can easily see what they have going on, and it helps for scheduling either in that overlay, I'll jump down here, in that overlay view I showed you, or in the schedule assistant view. And categorizing your calendar just to have it jump out so that you know what types of meetings do you have? Are you working on a lot of project work, or is it a lot of tasks? Is it a lot of administrative stuff? Are you making money for yourself and your company? Those things are really nice with categories. And then if possible, and if your company lets you, because sometimes companies don't let you do this, but if your company lets you, integrate any other personal calendars into it. So instead of during the day having to look on your phone, what do I have going on outside of work, or double entering everything that's in your personal calendar onto your business calendar, you can see them with that overlay view. All right, Jan.
Awesome. Thanks, Nance. So just a quick comment. Nancy, you're a rock star. Every single time I see you speak, I learned something. This was great. I just want to make a comment. One of the big issues that we are seeing in every company is the crazy amount of distractions and interruptions, and just a lack of respect of helping others be productive. And so to echo off what Nancy's saying is really best practice would be, before you reach out, before you text somebody or call them or in any way be disruptive, check at the calendar and see what's going on, because people will automatically jump on the text or whatever and drop what they're doing. And that's where we're seeing the 40% loss in time because of the constant picking up and putting down of activities. So this was great, Nance. We're going to wrap up in a couple of slides and then we'll open up for Q&A. So please start entering any questions you have in chat. So next month, we've got Walter up. And again, we're going to continue on this conversation around the productivity tools for scheduling and leveraging some of these really amazing new features within 365. So again, Walter will enter into chat the registration for this particular one. So if you want to sign up, that'd be great. And then we're just going to have a couple quick slides. A lot of people that are joining us and have never heard of us think we only do things with 365. So a couple quick slides. Yes, we are all about 365. We help companies optimize the use of it. So that's what we're all about. We're also all about process improvement. Think about Lean Six Sigma, refining the process across an organization within the office environment, all the way out to the manufacturing lines and how they might communicate, collaborate, all those different things. That's where we focus. And then we're definitely all about helping companies leverage technology for better dashboards, metrics, so they're well aware of the waste and all of that within the organization. We also do a lot of training and coaching and speaking. I speak a lot on leadership topics, how to help people be more effective leaders so they can maximize the talent in the organization. And Nancy and Walter are awesome at speaking about the technology, process improvement, all those different things. So that's just a little bit about us. At that point, we'll open it up to Q&A. I do see a couple questions coming in, so let's take those first. And then Nancy, I have a couple I can throw in there. So
Terry, you feel free, Terry, and unmute yourself and ask your question as well. unless you're
Okay,
shy.
so
She's
If-
super
if-
shy. Terry, you okay?
when using the Teams app, if I create a meeting in the calendar, I don't have an option to make it a Teams meeting. So the join button is not there. And I'm not able to create a dial-in number. But if I do it from my Outlook calendar, I can. Is that the way it's set up, or am I missing something?
So I'm thinking you might be missing something, because if you're in Teams, by default, if you're on your Teams calendar and you do a new meeting, it
Mhm.
creates a team meeting. Okay, so it has the link, and whatever that dial-in information that your company has set up should automatically fill in here. So if I do, and I'm having issues with Teams, so this might not work, so we're gonna find out. And so we're just gonna make this is today at 1 o'clock. That's fine. And we're gonna go ahead and send that off. So if I click on this, then I open it up to edit it, you will see it adds this. So what you're not seeing when it's creating the team meeting, Terry, is it's putting this in when you're sending it, okay? Where when you say in Outlook and you create a Teams meeting, it's filling this piece in here for you that has the team meeting information. And what is listed here is what your company has set up. So if you have dial-in phone numbers, knock on wood, they should automatically be adding here.
Okay.
And if it's not, you may have to just pop in here and add some more. You know, say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create this meeting in Teams. And then I know I have to go back and I have to edit it and paste this information in there. But that's what Walter and I have both seen, right, Walter? Is that when you create a team meeting, if your company has dial-in phone numbers, yada, yada, they're all listed here as well.
All right. I'm going to test it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and if you have more issues, I would go back and hopefully you're not the only IT person in your company. If you have IT people, and say, hey, what's going on here?
Perfect. Thanks, Terry, for asking. Melissa, I'll answer your question. The recordings are out on the website typically about 2 days after. So just be a little patient, then go out to the website, and then they're out there forever. Does anybody have a question? You're welcome to unmute yourself or enter in chat.
I answered all their questions, Jan. They have none.
I know, you're so good. I have my list, but I want to give them first dibs. Anybody else have a question? All right, Nancy, I'm going to ask one. One of the things we're seeing a lot is this god-awful issue of back-to-back meetings and calendars being so completely full. And people are just throwing out meetings and overlay other meetings. It seems like an important feature that people should be aware of, possibly, is that when you're accepting a meeting invite, that maybe you put that you're tentative or it's optional, or could you speak to that maybe, so that people might be able to make the decision, like, this is a meeting that they may or may not go to, or they're optional, and if I have to overlay, I'll overlay it on that meeting.
Right. So one of the things that you should be noticing when you're in your email, Jan, can you just send a meeting notice to trainer user? When you're in your email and you get that meeting notice, and send it for our time here today, is that over here, when I click on that meeting notice, it's going to show a little preview of my calendar and how that matches up and what it's going to conflict potentially with in my calendar when I see it. So I'm going to get that preview over in email before I even get onto my calendar.
Walter, will you send it for Nancy? I'm working on my tiny little screen, and yeah.
Yeah. So it's just trainer@sosorganized.net, Walter. And so where I was going to as Walter's sending that over to me, is that one of the things that, okay, train of thought, don't you just love it?
I was asking about the optional and the tentative.
Oh, one of the things that that I see as I work one-on-one with clients is that they're not even accepting meetings. They're just going, yep, it's going on my calendar, I'm not touching it. And so I just want to talk to that as a leader running a meeting, as someone participating, if I'm hoping that so-and-so is going to have their input to give me. I like to be able to see who actually has accepted the meeting, who is invited to the meeting, and those kinds of things. So another best practice I'm going to add is please let people know. And so when you accept that meeting notice, go ahead and, if it's going to be tentative and you have the little options up here, just say tentative. Did we get a meeting notice off to me, Walter?
Just now.
Okay. So up here on your meeting notice where it says, yes, I'm coming, or it's tentative, or propose a new time, let people know that. So this should be coming in. Come on, internet, work a little faster.
Nancy,
So that's helpful. You got another question as I'm waiting on that?
well, I can play off that one. I think you're totally right. Again, I think the theme that we're seeing a lot of right now is that people are sort of focused on their own priorities and their own productivity, but our goal is to help create a culture of productivity across an organization. And part of that is being respectful and not waiting to if you're a pivotal player in a meeting, don't wait to the very last minute to accept, because you're leaving everybody else waiting and potentially having to reschedule if you can't be there. So there's a lot of kind of etiquette that needs to be taught in organizations about calendar management. And exactly like Nancy said, if you're a required person at a meeting, you need to accept that or decline it as soon as possible so people know. If you're an optional person, then it's okay to be a little bit more on that bubble. But having a conversation in your organization about how to use these features so you can drive better productivity is super important. In addition to, a lot of people are just looking out on their calendar like one day. Walter and I were just talking about this yesterday. Like, everybody should be looking out on their calendar 2 weeks. And if you see you have a conflict with double booked meetings, then you make a decision then. Don't, again, do it the day before. So there, I stalled, Nancy. Did you get your invite?
Yeah, well, I didn't get Walter's, but I created my own.
Oh,
So as you can see, I sent from Nancy to trainer, I went ahead and sent a test meeting. And in my email over here, I can see a little calendar preview. If you're not seeing this little calendar preview that's showing you what it's conflicting with, then there's a little, what I like to call a carrot. And you just need to expand that carrot to go ahead, and then you see the little calendar preview of how it matches. And it also, there is a scroll bar here. So I'm able to scroll and say, oh, great. Okay, that 12 o'clock is in conflict with this webinar, but I'm available at 2. So that gives me the ability to propose a new time without ever leaving my email to go ahead and propose a new time. And if you accept, a lot of people either A, don't accept, at least that's my experience when I'm working one-on-one with clients, that I'm seeing they're just not accepting meeting notices. Or if they are, they're saying, I'm not going to send a response. Again, the best practice is send that response so that the meeting coordinator, whoever set that up, is seeing that. And if you need to add a message to them rather than a second email, do the edit the response before sending. If you're not sure if you're absolutely going to go, then go ahead and just put it as tentative. Let them know that, hey, I might have something else going on. Again, send them that message. I have this other meeting that I really can't miss out, but if something happens, I'll be there. Or just at least send a, hey, tentative, I'm putting it on. And if it doesn't work at all, let them know, hey, I'm not coming. Don't even put it on your calendar. So those are really big things. And that makes a huge difference for your calendar too, so that you're not seeing yourself double, triple, quadruple booked at the same time. And you're having every time to go, oh, which one of those was I going to? I can't remember now. And having to look at who's going to be there and what's the topic. Make the decision when that meeting notice comes in. Do you have another question, Jan? Or did that, maybe I should go this way. Did that answer your question?
That was great. Anybody else have a question for Nancy? So I can interject, I guess, a little bit more. One of the things we try to advocate is really what Nancy's saying is your calendar is a really important communication tool, and people are just not using it that way. And so what's happening is we get a flurry of emails that have to happen to offset what's not being done properly in the actual tool. So it's about understanding the features in the technology, using it properly. It's interesting as we work with clients, when we get clients canceling at the last minute all the time, we know there's massive productivity issues in the organization. They're probably not very planful and having everybody look out. They don't know how to use the tools. So if you see that a lot within your organization, that there's a lot of this constant canceling of meetings and all that, probably some huge opportunity here to drive productivity.
So another best practice that I didn't add on there, but now as we continue to talk, because we have so many in our head that it's hard to kind of pinpoint all of them. But we have many companies that will have no meeting Fridays. And so that gives everybody in the company, the focus is what's all the work that was accumulated in all the meetings Monday through Thursday, and no meeting Fridays, so that people have that Friday to do work. So think of it as like a school teacher, right? Where they have, you know, maybe a half day on Wednesday that they do their lesson planning, the same kind of thing, you know, in a job. I need some lesson planning time. I need some work time to do the work that was generated. And also, I mean, this is, like I said, this is my tests email that I use when I do training. So it doesn't have like reality on it. But blocking time, if you know that every day or every week you need 4 to 6 hours of work time, take the work time before others take it on you. So I you know, sometimes people are like, no, I like to see white space because I know I have time to work. The problem with that for productivity that Jan and I find is that the white space gets eaten up and it's not focus time anymore. So schedule your focus time on your projects. Even if right now it's not a specific project and you know that mornings are your best time, give yourself, you know, from 7 to 8 or from 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, that's project work time a couple days a week, and let everybody on your team know that. And maybe everybody on the team can do the same thing. And those are really huge productivity things, and how your calendar becomes your master plan. It is, as I like to call it, your GPS for your life, for your work life, just like we use our GPS when we travel.
Love it. Well, on that note, I say let's wrap up. We're advocates of not dragging meetings on if there's not a lot of discussion. So last chance, anybody has a question they want to unmute themselves or enter in chat. Otherwise, we're super happy you guys were here. We hope you picked up some tidbits. Rewatch the recording. Please send the recording to your colleagues if you think they could benefit from it.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you
awesome.
all.
Have a great week, everyone. Thank you. Awesome job, Nance. Thank you.